Ladies and gentlemen, we are live on Mimi Mefo Info. To be talking with Mimi Mefo, other person than the chairman of this. The story of Cameroon multi-party politics, democracy can never be told without a mention of John Fru Ndi, who is chairman of the Social Democratic Front. That is one of Cameroon's main opposition political party. In public and during interviews, he has always been very, very critical about the management of the political, socio-economic happenings, as well as the Anglophone crisis of the Biya regime, which has been there for almost 40 years. John Fru Ndi has also never reserved any kind word about the socio-political crisis in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon, like I earlier said. But has he been able to create impact in the lives of Cameroonians, his supporters, those who were able and ready to risk it all in the 90s, before, during, and even after? Change has John Fru Ndi actually brought at this point in time in Cameroon, before, during, and after as well? Cameroon is facing a lot of political instability, and what is he having as solutions to what Cameroon is going through at the moment? He would be telling us more as he talks with Mimi Mefo today. Good day to you, John Fru Ndi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good day to you, Mimi Mefo, and at last we caught up again because you've been missing. I know that in action because you are also struggling to work and have something to maintain yourself. Now I'm here in Georgia, Atlanta, because I was not feeling very well. I came for my medical checks, and unfortunately for me, the coronavirus pandemic caught up with me here. So they said it's looking for gray-haired people, people above 70, and so they said we should hide under the bed, not even on the bed. So I've been hiding here, and it's unfortunate that I've not been able to talk, but the party was active and alive because the first vice and the secretary general and the other officials of the party were back home, and I do hope that they were keeping in touch because we are also keeping in touch with me here.
We'll get to talk about you talking to the public later. Let's talk about COVID-19. In regards to restriction of President Biya in Cameroon, are you happy with the put in place so far, Mr. Chairman?
Well, the COVID-19, it's a world pandemic. It is not a thing that relates only to Cameroon. And whatever instructions have been given anywhere in the world affect everybody, because Cameroon cannot create their own methodology of how to handle the pandemic. I want to use this opportunity to thank Cameroonians, to beg for an apology from them that have not kept in touch for long, because I know that the first vice was there talking with the people on addressing all the issues, and there was no need for me to start running to send messages in between. So this pandemic affects the whole world. It's sweeping through the whole world. And it's unfortunate for us at this time that, well, maybe the head of state of Cameroon didn't address it properly, but I was very impressed when I saw the health authorities in the Northwest doing checks at Matazim, the borders to enter the Northwest. So I was very impressed with them, and I'm sure that in the Southwest and other places where I have my son there, Dr. Kinge, he'll be doing the same thing because that's a very practical doctor. And with the other health facilities in the Northwest, Mbingo, Shishong, where I've been receiving medical attention. So if I came out here, it's just because they hadn't all the equipment that would have attended to me. In Bingo, we have about 40 doctors But because of the crisis we had in the Northwest, most of these doctors had to run away. So I want to appeal to Cameroonians that what affects an American affects a Cameroonian or a British or a Nigerian or whatever country. And when they come up with these set rules that people should wash their hands, they should distance themselves, I want to appeal that Cameroonians should follow that as the gospel.
But unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, the figures are, we all want that it should reduce. We all want to see an end to the COVID-19 pandemic around the world and also in Cameroon. Figures rising on daily basis. What I ask is, are you positive and happy, satisfied with the measures that are being put in place by the government to fight COVID-19?
I am not comfortable with what the government is doing, because if what I got a few days ago is true, that the Minister of Territorial Administration said that Mr. Biya gave 2 billion for the COVID-19 to be fought. If the 2 billion was actually given, then it should be noted that it was not properly done, because it is not the Minister of Territorial Administration, it's the Minister of Health. And the Minister of Health, they should go through the councils, they should involve the parliamentarians and the senators who are directly involved with the people. It's not a matter of going through the governors, onto the SDOs, onto the GOs. It's just another channel for them to see what they can stash aside for themselves. So if this is the way Cameroon is fighting the pandemic, I want to condemn it, that this is not the rightful way. But the fighting is more in the hands of the people. It is your health that matters to you. Already in Cameroon, we have far too many problems. You have the Northwest, Southwest Anglophone crisis. We have the Boko Haram in the far north and Adamawa. You have the problems in the east from the what do you call them again?
From the Central African Republic.
Central African Republic.
Yes.
Okay, all these things are coming and weighing heavily on Cameroon. And if Cameroon is only looking onto the government that is inactive, I think that we'll be fighting a losing battle.
So holding government to account is to tell the people to take their destinies into their hands.
Take their destinies into their hands. Because,
now let's talk about,
excuse me, I know that sometimes the Bamenda man will say, may I go drink my mimbo, die me. You should not commit suicide. Let me not hear that language again. Your life matters. Your life is important. And some of us have really worked hard, sacrificing to make sure that we reach where we are reaching with the people alive. But if things are going the way they are going, and a disease comes, a pandemic comes, and we just give ourselves to it, it means that we are signing our signatures to commit suicide, which I want to condemn.
So now let's talk about the impression that you have absconded from the party. Are you still the chairman?
If I were not the chairman, then why will you be talking to me?
Cameroonians want to know if you're still the chairman.
If I were not the chairman, then why will you be talking to me, Mimi Mefo? Well, the very Cameroonians who are saying that I absconded some already said that I died. And these are the type of things that happen in Cameroon. Oh, he's dead. Oh, Mr. Biya is dead. Oh, this man is dead. We pray. At the beginning of this pandemic, we lost quite a lot of people. And I want those who've lost loved ones to accept my condolences. And one of the fellows I felt was Manu Dibango, who died of it. And I think they said Mr. Foso Victor also died. I want to believe that he died of the pandemic. And of recent, Dr. Chemuta Banda, in charge of human rights in Cameroon, died. And a few more people, they've died because of this. These are people were losing. And we cannot be losing. It's just like a big river is carrying your children away. You stand by it and you are smiling. Well, like those of us who cannot swim, you'll be crying or trying to see if you can throw something in, even if it's a bamboo, that the child might catch and maybe help to float. So with our own limited resources, we think that the government should do something, because we see governments that are giving to their citizens face masks, instructing them and supervising that places should be closed up, they should wash their hands, they should distance themselves from the others. But I will not want to say much about this because I am not on the spot in Cameroon. And I think that the first vice, Joshua Osei, is very capable, and he has already sent out one or two instructions of what people should do. But people think that, oh, it should come from Fru Ndi. Now, when I was coming out for my treatment, I sat down with the first vice, the Secretary General, some members of Senate and Parliament, and told them to be having regular meetings to reflect on the issues that are affecting the country and the world, and to take a position and get me informed. I've been following some of the things that they're doing, and I'm very satisfied with them. But if they've not worked up to expectation, well, I think that people might be expecting a little too much out of us. But
now you've talked about the issue of the Social Democratic. We saw the results during the 2000 time. The Social Democratic Front got one of its worst results since creation in the 90s. And we also saw the results of the party after the twin elections in February 2020. Do you think, Mr. Chairman, that Honorable Joshua Osei is the right person to bear the flag of the Social Democratic Front?
Honorable Joshua Osei was voted by the people at the convention, and I gave my thumbprint on that. And you talked about the dwindling results of the SDF. Can you also tell me, as an investigative journalist that I know you to be, whether all these elections were elections that can pass anywhere in the world? Now, you cannot organize elections in the face of war. Look at the way Bandam, I could have started by paying my respect to all these dead people, and Bandam and the rest. You saw the way Honorable Bandam, may he rest in peace, was attacked. His convoy was attacked when he was going to Batibou. The war that they've been fighting, they never attacked a convoy the way I saw Bandam's convoy being attacked. I saw how they attacked SDF people in Bali. Me, personally, I've been attacked in every way. And in the face of this, the local man in the village, whose house has been burnt, whose finger has been cut, who has been tormented in one way or the other, you are telling that person to come and vote. And that's why in one of the visits to Etudi, where Mr. Bia invited us, I had to hold his hand, drag him back and say, Mr. President, I'm begging you in the name of God, if you don't handle this thing immediately, the oil will slip through your fingers. I keep quoting this. And when I look back onto what I'm seeing now, is what worse than I had even expected. And Mr. Bia has himself to blame. Because
certainly we'll be talking about the crisis in the course of the show. Just to make our viewers clear that it wasn't why the mayor of Bajun had to die. It wasn't clear about Chemuta Divine Banda, whether he died as a result of COVID-19. The only person whose death, whose situation was very, very clear was the other Chemuta Divine Banda and Photo Victor, like we earlier mentioned, just to make our viewers understand and make things very, very clear. Now we come back to the Social Democratic Front. You are talking about not having confidence in the result of the polls. Do you think that so far the Social Democratic Front Party has been able to achieve its goal Because when you talk to so many Cameroonians, they're disappointed. Of course, they describe you as the father of democracy, the person who introduced multi-party politics in Cameroon. But you do not take Cameroonians through that process and achieving that desired goal of change, bringing change in the country. Do you blame yourself, or do you think that you would have made things different or handled things differently, Mr. Chairman?
I cannot blame myself. I think Fru Ndi and the SDF members have fought a good fight. And I congratulate them, even in this last election, that they had to bring the army. They really wanted the SDF to run away with our tails between our legs to say that, oh, if we go out, they will kill us. In the face of this, we still went out, saw what the army was doing, saw what government was doing to thwart all these elections. We saw it. And it's because of our participation in most of the elections that we've been able to tell Cameroonians what is happening at the electoral field. And that's why we've had some stitches of electoral reforms, because we are there to point out that this is what has happened, this is what has happened, and this is what is happening. So if we are not taking part in these elections at all, they will tidy it, clean it up, and tell you that, oh, you see, the elections were well conducted, people came out in this place, this number of people came. But because the SDF members were there, you will notice that only the soldiers voted. And I've respected the Cameroonian army. I've loved the Cameroonian army. But if they had to go in to accept the little things that they do to children that have nothing to do, take 5,000 to bring Fru Ndi ballot paper, or to make sure that you prove that you voted CPDM. This is very unfair for our country. And these are some of the things that the LGF said from the onset. The army should be apolitical, to work under anybody who wins government. And if you have to go now, start voting, it is very unfair for our country. And I condemn this in very strong terms. The SDF and Fru Ndi were facing two armies, the Amazonian army and Mr. Bia's army. And this sandwiched the ordinary people in between. And most of them were warned. The Amazonians called them and warned them. If you go out, we'll come and burn your house. If you go out, we'll cut your hand. If you go out, and they did that. You heard of recent that they killed the mayor of Mamfe, a young man. So if we're out to look for the way to help the people, to give them a better life, and you kill them, what do you take? Then you'll be taking care of what? Of graves? And that's what I said in my early campaigns, that I do not want war. I want a situation where at the end of the day, I should have the people with me and not to have graves. And today, you have so many unmarked graves in the north and southwest. People who have died in the bushes will never know whose grave this is. So this is very unfortunate for us. And I think
could you have tried, Mr. Chairman, if you accept a coalition with other opposition parties in Cameroon?
Well,
because that didn't happen.
From 1990 up to now, the coalition parties in Cameroon come in to fight Fru Ndi. They're not fighting Mr. Bia. They're not fighting Mr. Bia. Because let us look at it. During the presidential elections, they put people who are young men who are not married. They're not working. They are staying with their parents, and they make them as presidential candidate for Cameroon. Irresponsible people. So it is Mr. Bia's government that has destroyed everything, and I put everything squarely on his shoulders, that he is responsible for anything that is happening in Cameroon. And those that are supporting him, they should take note that note is being taken of them.
And another argument being raised was you had the opportunity to do things after the 1992 presidential elections. We've heard from opposition candidates who said you won the election, and you said that you won the 1992 presidential election. You had the opportunity to change things around and positively for Cameroonians, but you didn't.
You are very right, ma'am. By then, we were still following the constitution, and we thought that Cameroonians should go through the bridge go on the bridge to cross and not go on the water where you have crocodiles and so many things. In one of the camps that the boys abducted me to, they say, we're angry with you because you didn't declare war in 1992. I said, I've seen the effects of war, the results of war. And to start a war is not difficult, but to end a war, reconcile the people is what is really difficult. Let us look at the Nigerian Biafran war. When the Anglophone started this war, which was declared by Mr. Biya because he came to the airport and declared the war there. And when I talk now, the governor said, are you saying that it's Mr. Biya who declared the war? I said, Mr. Governor, sorry, I didn't know that it's you who declared the war. Because first and foremost, in a place like the Northwest, the soldiers cannot go out for any operations without the governor signing. In the Southwest, the same thing. And if you imagine that the governor of the Southwest called Anglophones rats and cockroaches and all the like, and Mr. Biya still left him to be there, to be administering and manning those people. It is very unfortunate. But in 1992, I thought that the laws of the land could be put in place for us to have a peaceful transition. But Mr. Biya grabbed it. They changed the results first time, second time, third time. And at the last moment, say, look, give my results to Fru Ndi and give Fru Ndi's results to me. And that's what they did. And he sat there and was very comfortable. I told him when he came to Bamenda that I was a millimeter away from declaring war. But after going through areas that have gone to war, seeing the destruction, the human losses, and all the like, I said, no, to me, war will not be the best option. And more so, when people quote that our fathers left the Lagos House of Assembly to the Eastern Nigerian House of Assembly, they left as parliamentarians. When they left the Eastern House of Assembly to the Boya House of Assembly, they left as a group as parliamentarians. And when they chose to go for the unification, they left as a group. And to some of us who are of the old school, we still believe that we could come through that channel, through the parliamentary system, if they want to secede, but not in a place where I have to take up guns and go to war.
But that is what prevails now in English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Before we talk about the current socio-political crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest, finally on the social democratic front, Mr. Chairman, where do you see the party in the next 5 years when the ends? Do you think that the SDF can still be that party that would bring change in Cameroon?
I am still very, very convinced. Even in my grave, I'll be very convinced that the SDF will bounce back, because the SDF has withstood the test of time to show Cameroonians that we've not escaped, we've not run away, taken flight in the face of guns and all the like. We've been intimidated by guns from Mr. Biya's soldiers. We've been intimidated by guns from the Amber boys. They've abducted me several times. But in their presence, I told them, I said, look, my children, I cannot walk out of parliament the way people are ordering me to. And I called on the radio and television interviews that the leadership of the Ambazonians should come, let us meet, talk, strategize. We are telling you to get out of parliament, get out of Senate, get out of this. I mean, you don't give me instructions. I am a leader chosen by the people to defend their interests. And until you convince me to go tell them what you are doing, I will not just get out of that and start running. So it is not possible. And the SDF is the only political party that has withstood this storm. And in my heart of hearts, I am very convinced that the young men and women that we have on the field will bounce back in full force to build the party up. Because
you have said young men and women. Tell me about the place of women in the social democratic front. Don't you think that it's time for men to step back and give chance to the women?
Don't you think that it's time for women to step back and give chance to the men?
The women have never been
given the party. Listen, ma'am.
I've never seen a woman as a chairman or a flag bearer, Mr. Chairman.
the SDF is the only political party in Cameroon that made a woman the Secretary General. The SDF is the only party that has made a woman in the Senate the first vice, though we are having problems with her at the moment. We are trying to project the women, and we've projected. And what we've done, the other political parties have not done it. And if you look at me as a founder of a party, from 1990 up to now, I've not gone to council to fight to be a mayor. I've not gone to parliament to fight to be a vice president or so. I've not gone to Senate to be the vice president of Senate so that I fight for myself. I've had to send the young men and women ahead. Let them go and do it. Let me remain behind to do the checks and balances. Make sure
so the place of the woman would only be a secretary general and first the vice president. Is that what you are saying, Mr. Man?
In every ladder, you start with one step, madam.
Unfortunately.
Not unfortunately.
No, we didn't get you. I was asking if that is where
on
the
every
place
ladder,
of the woman
on every step that you are climbing, if you are climbing upstairs, you start with one step and you are moving up. We are all moving up together. You see,
the reason why I was talking about women is we've seen the example in Germany with the management of COVID-19 and also in leading, and they are making an impact when it comes to containment measures and fighting against. So I was trying to make you understand that with the men stepping aside and giving the chance to the women, it can bring the change that the society needs.
Let me explain this to you. The SDF was formed like a family. You know, before the SDF came, in the CPDM, you had the youth wing, the women's wing, the men's wing. When we came in with the party, we said, the SDF is a family. The men, the women, the youths, both boys and girls, we all join together. As we are working, we are seeing those that are showing an aptitude and they're moving ahead. It's not me, it's the convention that chooses those people, and you see them going ahead. So the people in Germany were chosen. They were never nominated by anybody. And when we had the chance, we had to put a woman for the vice president of the Senate. As I told you, we've reviewed that position. We had to choose a woman as the Secretary General. That's one of the highest positions in the party. And she on her own resigned. So we've been making an effort to bring the women in, to push them forward. And you have quite a lot of women in the National Executive Committee of the party. And we sent women to parliament. So if we've been doing this, we are moving together as a family. Some of the youngest people we sent to parliament were youths. I mean, were from the SDF. Some of the youngest people to go to Senate were from the SDF. But this last time, the Senate did it that the woman who was the youngest senator in the first Senate was still the youngest senator in this second Senate. So you see what we are going through in our country, that there's so much misunderstanding. The SDF is doing everything to give the women a chance to excel. And we want strong women like you to come in. And we are inviting other women. But unfortunately for us in Cameroon, women will tell you that I cannot come to the SDF because I will not be promoted. I will lose my civil service job. I will not be this. So these are the problems we're having.
Talking about women, Mr. Chairman, and they've been the most affected, as well as children, as far as the Anglophone crisis in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon are concerned. You are an elite and also prominent figure in the northwest region of Cameroon. You've made series of proposals with Christian Cardinal Tumi, other Anglophone bishops, and other prominent figures in the country on how the current regime in Yaoundé crisis. But there is still a deadlock, which is problematic. And do you think that you would want to give more proposals to the BR regime, or you would continue with the points that you would want to continue with before as solutions to the Anglophone crisis?
We gave our proposals before, and we'll continue to give the proposals. And as I said before, the Amazonian leadership abroad were only telling me I should get out of Parliament, out of Senate, and the SDF, the international community would give their independence. They went to the United Nations. Before they got there, I had been there more than 5 times. Before they got to the White House, I've been there several times. Before they got to the British House of Commons, House of Parliament, to the Commonwealth, had been there. Champs-Élysées had been there. Bundestag had been there. And when I was there, I was talking about the marginalization of Anglophones and the problems in Cameroon. If a new leadership comes up, can we sit down and talk, and you tell me what will happen if I step out of Parliament? But anyway, the good news is that they use the guns to push the SDF out of the way, because they say as soon as the SDF gets out of the way, we'll have independence. So we're waiting for that independence now. But the approach is what I also condemn. Because if children were killed, old people killed from both sides, there was no respect at all. You saw the way the Forum was treated, and other fronts in the Northwest treated, and me treated. I think that in every war, there's a respect that the soldiers can give to the elderly people. But when people are treated the way that some of us were treated, I condemn it in very strong terms. Because when I started with the SDF, I never went around forcing people that they must support what I was doing, which I knew that I was doing the right thing in the interest of the people. And because it was the interest, yes?
Now you've talked about the fact that they were telling SDF MPs to leave or quit the parliament. Do you think, let us be honest, that the Social Democratic Front can have the desired place or the deserved place in parliament, the number of councillors it wants in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon, if there's no stability in these regions?
Well, that's why we're also fighting for the stability.
Yeah, but there's no stability, and then you take part in the positive results.
Yes, I took part in the elections to point out what Mr. Biya was doing wrong. I will never stand out, even if everybody is dying, we'll still stand for an election to say this is what they did. Because I said in the earlier part of this interview, if you run away, you will not be able to point out what they did wrong. And they will have that chance to polish these things, pencil it well, and show you that, you see, we did this right. You are dealing with people you know. And if you know them, you have to know how to catch them and point them out. As I said, I took you went to Pinyin and reported about the Pinyin massacre. You came back to Bamenda again. I still helped. You did other in-depth investigations. And up till today, those results have not been published by you because they were facts, truths that were to be said. So, and if you didn't go to the field, you couldn't have known. So we believe that if, for instance, because people have challenged me so much, oh, Wiba, you could have followed Wiba. Where is Wiba? Wiba, you cannot shoot a gun at the war front and you just start running. You stand there and face the enemy. If Wiba stood in parliament and still faced and they killed Wiba in parliament, that would be a different face. And he was imprisoned, that would be a different face. But you make one statement and you start running. If in 1990, I launched a party and they killed 6 children, and I started running that, they could have killed me too. They did everything to harass me, brought helicopters to chase me, sent plainclothes detectives to be following me left and right. They did everything to harass, to embarrass me, run. I never ran. I
so
said, we'll die on the battlefield.
The SDF took part in the election, but knowing that the results would be, is that so? But you wanted to prove a point. Yes,
we knew the results. We knew that the results were going to be what they came out to. And it was proven that Mr. Biya's government was working with the Amber Boys, because some of them phoned me and told me in my face and said, Fru Ndi, don't waste your time. You'll never win those elections because we are going to vote for Mr. Biya. I have some of the things on tape.
Well,
some of
talking
them on
about
tape.
the findings I did
Yes.
on Menka, so that the audience would understand, we are going to present the videos, the findings that we met in Menka that was about 2 years ago to them. That was,
Okay.
of course, we talked to the people and also the families that were affected. And because of reasons or circumstances beyond our control, and my didn't publish the results of the findings, but you would have them possibly in the weeks or in the months ahead. Let us continue with the debate, Mr. Chairman. Talking
And
about lobbying.
after Menka, you had the Ngabum
Certainly.
massacre.
Yes, we've
Okay.
had the Ngabo
Which
massacre, we've had others in
okay.
Babanki, we've had others and
Okay.
several
But
others.
some of these were not investigated the way I led journalists to investigate the Pinyin massacre.
Journalists did a lot of reports, and because of that, the government has been able to set up a commission and said that soldiers were being investigated as a result of the role that their involvement in the killing of civilians in Gabon. We would also get to talk about that. You talked about your lobby at the level of the international scene, Mr. Chairman, and at this point in time, many are talking about the role of international mediation, the role of the international community in resolving the current conflict in Cameroon. Are you positive about the involvement of Switzerland or possibly the US or Europe or the United Nations? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, you have the Cameroonians out here who tell you that we are going there, they'll give the independence. We are all looking. Because sometimes when you see a man fold his hands and sit the way I'm sitting, you say, well, you shouldn't look. You go ahead. If you get it, okay. But you didn't know the hot potatoes that are in the backs of the international community. They are talking here. You didn't know how the African American is suffering here. You didn't know that the COVID-19, the black people are dying more than the whites and all the like. There are so many problems in the world. And the problem that started with us in Cameroon was that the lawyers and the teachers complained about their statues and what they were going through. And this sparked up. And people just seized it and took it the way they're taking. And when this came up, the SDF parliamentarians and senators and mayors went to the governor of the Northwest to say, Mr. Governor, if you send your army to beat students in Bambui, went to the Southwest and asked the governor, if you send your army to beat the students from the hostels in Boya University, why did you do this, Mr. Governor? The SDF was not indifferent. We took the forefront. And if today it is because the SDF did not do this or did not do that, I think that within our own human limits, we did the best we could.
You did the best, meaning you can't do your best any longer.
We did the best we could, and we're still struggling to do more because we're still on the field. We've not escaped. That's why I told you that in the case of Weber, you couldn't have shot a gun and escaped. If we shot the gun and escaped, we would not be here. If, for instance, when I was abducted in Alabo camp, if I had sat in their camp there to give an alarm, please get out of parliament, get out of Senate, you want to kill me here? I told the boys in their faces that, look, I am a political leader and we've sent people to parliament. If your people think that by getting out of parliament, they'll have their independence, let us sit down with that leadership and talk, strategize, plan, and see where we're going to. They say, no, just get out, just get out. And these are the very people whom Goji Dinka in England is saying that they wrote letters and gave Fru Ndi to send to get parliamentarians out of parliament. He took the letters and burned them. Whether he was there when I was burning them is all left to him. Secondly, if the letters were burnt, what happened next? People came out of parliament. I remember Victoria Ndando is one of those who came out. And when they wanted to go back to parliament, they removed that woman's name. And that traumatized her till today. We had to fight her to make her go back. And going back, we boycotted elections that year. The very people who made us to boycott elections were the very people who started blaming the LTF. Oh, you boycotted elections. If you went in, this and that could have happened. If you went in, we could have done this. And the very people who were laughing at you that you boycotted elections are the people telling you today, do not go in for elections. And for us to do things at the SDF, we have to sit down in the convention, in NEC meetings, discuss, debate, go forwards and backwards to find out what is best for the people. We do not just stand for...
Now, you have been trying to do what is best for the people, like you said, even at the level of the National Assembly. The government has failed in its policy to end the war in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Now in its fourth year, we are talking about more than 4,000 people that have died, and a lot of people in the French-speaking parts of the country. It started with the federal, it started even before the federal system of government was suppressed, and then the sudden change of Cameroon from the United Republic to Republic of Cameroon, and then we had the arrest of lawyers, and then the Anglophone crisis in 2016, like you said. You a referendum inside their political future is going to be a solution? Is it necessary now?
Well, we have to keep fighting. You win a boxing tournament in the ring, not outside the ring. And when we say that we have to go to war, I'm glad you told me here, or which I know, that over 4,000 people have died. And this is what we're trying to avoid. And not just the 4,000 people that have died, the Anglophone educational system has been destroyed. And because Mr. Biya's government saw that the Anglophone educational system was coming up, beating what they were doing, because in schools in Bamenda, Sacred at one time had over 400 Francophones in a school of 600. And many other schools going to St. Beats, CPC Bali, PSS Batibo, this and that, you had all of them there. And this was not pleasing to them because they saw that you are doing enculturation of their own children with your English system. And that's why they've come to see that they destroy all this. All this we know. But it is the differences in approach where some people think that the SDF should do it this way without sitting down to discuss with us. Because before we do anything, we sit in a convention and discuss, debate, and find out which way we're going. We do not just sit down to say that, look, this is happening. Okay, I came out here. A young man called me and said, I'm the secretary of what. And I'm told that you want to see our leader. I said, I'd made the call a long time ago that I want to talk to the leadership. Then another one wrote from Cameroon and said, Fru Ndi, you're wasting your time. You will not see the leader out there. We'll only meet in Boya. I said, good luck. If we meet in Boya, I'll be there. But for you to treat me the way you treated me and say we'll meet in Boya, to treat the people the way you've treated them, maimed some, amputated some.
Mr. Chairman, the situation is escalating and getting worse.
Right. What do you want the chairman to do?
Because the Yaoundé regime is delaying in its solution. It's the way the Yaoundé regime is managing the crisis. And you said it earlier, that if you were young, I can quite remember you would be in the bush fighting because of how the Yaoundé government is pushing the youths in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon to the wall. Mr. Chairman, I asked about a referendum, whether thing is the way out, because people, the Anglophone should be given the opportunity to decide. What do you think about that? Is it necessary now?
When the Anglophones are not given the opportunity, are you telling me that the Anglophone should then commit suicide? The unfortunate thing, Mimi Mefo, is that the young people who are fighting now in the bush never tested of the Anglo-Saxon system of life in the north and southwest. And if this is not resolved, it's just a matter of time that will escalate again. And there are so many things in my mind that I cannot disclose over an interview like this. In Nigeria, for instance, you have the Yorubas. They are grumbling that they want to leave the Nigerian this thing under the Oduduwa, Omo Oduduwa. And the Igbos are also grumbling that they want to leave. And with all these things and all the escalations around us, I do not support the idea of we going in to commit suicide the way we've done, because one day it will not be the same. To every war, there's an end. And when Mr. Biya called for the talks, I told him before that the talks will not take us anywhere if he does not call for a ceasefire. We cannot be talking when there's no ceasefire.
But but Mr. Chairman, you were in Yaoundé.
I went there to make my point clearer. I don't stand outside to throw stones. I come and tell you in your face. And I told Mr. Biya in his face. I told his prime minister in his face. I talk to his people in their faces and tell them what I think and what the SDF is thinking.
So how can we end this crisis? What is the way out, Mr. Chairman?
It is not me who started the war, ma'am. So I cannot call for a ceasefire.
If you were in their shoes, what would you do now to end the conflict?
First, I couldn't have declared the war, because I could have gone to the leadership of the Anglophones, discuss with them that this is what their children are saying, this is what they're doing. And even he sent under the prime minister. Look, take note that when the prime minister emeritus came to Bamenda and discussed with the lawyers and the teachers, they had points which they were supposed to sign for people to go back to school, for lawyers to go back to court. But instead of signing this, they instead declared a war on the people. And that's where the thing broke loose. It's unfortunate. So if those things were done, even look at after the talks, up till now, the special status given, we're not seeing a thing.
So, Mr. Chairman, you believe that dialogue is still the solution and ceasefire is the only solution. You are not in favor of not in favor of independence in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon.
Please, if the independence will come, if it does come, it should not come at the loss of so many lives. That I will not subscribe to.
So,
because
who has the power to end the bloody conflict? Is it the Yaoundé regime or independence fighters?
Mr. Biya has it on his shoulders.
He has the power. Now, what is your relationship with Mr. Biya?
We don't have any relationship.
We don't have any good relationship. Okay. Yes. Now, finally, before we go, Mr. Chairman, we saw the performance of Professor Maurice Kamto during the just ended presidential election. It's not the just. That was in 2018. He came second, and he's been doing a lot as well with his team since the COVID-19 broke out in Cameroon, facing a lot of repression on the part of the Biya regime. What do you think about Professor Maurice Kamto, Mr. Chairman, as somebody who has been into politics for several decades now?
Well, if I will tell you that since Mr. Maurice Kamto formed his own party, he has never called me, he has never come close to me. He's doing his politics, and most people who form parties in Cameroon, they are fighting by Fru Ndi and the SDF, and you hear them say that, oh, I'm the second political party now. We are not fighting of second. We want to be first to administer Cameroon. We are not fighting to be a second. And if Mr. Maurice Kamto is fighting to be second, the SDF is not fighting to be a second. And if they took advantage of the problems in the stronghold of the SDF and did what they did, I just wish them well, that I want Cameroon to change.
So apart from any other opposition party in Cameroon that you see as that symbol of change, is there any other political party?
Well, you are a journalist. You can best tell me. You are a journalist. You can best tell me.
I didn't get you. Do you see any other party?
You are a journalist.
I didn't hear you, Mr. Chief.
You are a journalist. You can best tell me which party you've seen that we can say, let us support this party. Because look at a man like.
I'm not a politician. I'm not.
But you are a political journalist, and that's why you are doing what you are doing now, and that's why you came up to Bamenda to go to Pinyin, and
it's not up to me. It's not up to me to imagine or to say who is that symbol of change in Cameroon. You can better tell. Well, you are a prominent political figure in Cameroon, Mr. Chairman.
I am also involved. So if I'm involved, I don't want to start judging to say I am the best. I was just about telling you what Jean-Jacques Kindi did. I read on the papers that he resigned from his party and said he'd gone him back to CPDM. And those are the people that we have been working with, and they lobbied you to support them. So if I'd supported him, today he'll be back in the CPDM. And so the Cameroon political scene is very rough and very slippery, that I cannot point my finger at a person.
So at this point, Cameroon, until Biya decides that he's handing over to another person. Is that what you're saying?
Well, Cameroonians have to decide.
Cameroonians? I didn't get you, Mr. Chairman.
Cameroonians have to decide.
Cameroonians have to decide.
Yes,
I don't know if you have any last words. A lot of questions are coming in. People are worried that you haven't talked about referendum. Maybe
no, the referendum. Look, listen. In a 30-minute interview, I cannot say everything. I cannot say everything. A referendum is what we should fight for. But let me tell you, if you have some cosmetic changes in the constitution of Cameroon now, in the electoral system, it's because of the fight that the SDF put in. And when we talked of the computerization of the electoral register, Marafa told me that, well, Fru Ndi will do it, but take note, garbage in, garbage out. So you can say what you want, but we'll do it away. We fought for transparent boxes, but they fill them in some places, beat people, and come to say that this is what we have. So all these things are taking place in Cameroon, and we are in the interest of the people trying to see how we can effect the changes without much damage. But when we jump into a fight the way we've done, and I have over 4,000 graves in the north and southwest, not putting what is taking place in the far north, and the Adamawa areas going towards the east, all these things, they hurt me as a leader. And that's why.
I have two questions for you, Mr. Chairman. One person says that you destroyed the dreams of Cameroonians, that you could do better. What do you have to say about that? I just read it now. Do you have anything to say?
I didn't destroy the dreams of Cameroonians. I stood firm as a fighter, and I never escaped in the face of all the shootings from Mr. Biya's army, from the Amber army, to say I abandoned Cameroonians halfway. I'm still on the field with them, and we are still a party that holds meetings, regular NEC meetings. And if anybody has a thing to say, come say it on the floor. We are open to discussions and debates. And if what we say, we go to apply it, it doesn't work, we come back, review. So the SDF brought dialogue in. The SDF brought talk in the Cameroon political scene. And this is that dialogue that I want to continue. We encourage it, let it go. If I destroyed Cameroonian dreams, because in the Labu Kam, the boys, no, not the Labukam camp, somewhere in Babanki, when they also tried to harass me there. They said if in 1992 you went to war, we could have been free by now. They don't know the effects of war. Ojukwu, with all the training he had, with all the soldiers that he had from the eastern region, and all the military equipment he had, to defeat the Nigerian army was difficult. So we have to be very careful the way we declare wars.
And when are you coming back to Bamenda? That is another question that I just got.
Yeah, as soon as I get through with I'm not here on a honeymooning. I'm not here on a child's play. I am the only politician who for 30 years never went on leave or holidays. But I am here not on a holiday, not on leave, but because I am not well. When these boys abducted me, to be fair on their side, they never got me beaten. But they played on my head with their guns. They hit my head with their guns 5 times. And with this, I'm having problems. And so when I came out here, you know that the COVID-19 just came in and all the forces were centered on the COVID-19. The doctors could not do anything. So back in Cameroon, I want to thank the Cameroonian doctors and nurses and all the medical staff for what they are doing to save their people. Government might not encourage them, but please, I want to appeal that they should do everything to be of service to the people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for joining us on Talk with Mimi Mefo today. It was our pleasure having you. Of course, you are the first guest for this show, and we hope to have you some other time again to get to talk more about political happenings, the economic and social situation in Cameroon, and of course, the Anglophone crisis. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I want to apologize to those that have not, might not have had good answers the way they want from me. They should also take note that I've been absent from the scene in Cameroon for some time. And when you are not on the floor to see what is happening, to put your finger on, does not mean that you've abandoned the people. But I think that I left the people in good hands. The first vice and the other vices, the Secretary General and members of Parliament and Senate, and the few or one mayor we have, they're there to be holding meetings to discuss issues about the party. And I want to guarantee and assure them that the SDF will bounce back in a way that they never expected. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. The chairman of the Social Democratic Front, they're saying that the party is going to be bouncing back like no one ever expected. Is it going to be in the next weeks, in the next months, or in years to come? No one else knows, but we are expecting to see what is going to be happening in the days to come. John Fru Ndi equally talked about his stance as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned. He says that ceasefire and dialogue should be the way out of the current conflict. Not satisfied with the way the Yaoundé regime is handling the conflict, but cannot tell us his stance on a referendum. And also he says that he stands for federation, as that is the policy of the said political party, the Social Democratic Front. He talked about COVID-19 and many other things. We thank you so much as well, viewers. You were thousands of you following us up, and we apologize for the technical hitches. Tomorrow is going to be the best, and the best, of course, is yet to come. We'll make sure that we improve as the days go by. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
God bless you.
God bless you too.